I've just finished a training session, and the first thing I did was, as always, jump on Instagram and have a little bit of a scroll. Not the best habit, but we all do it. And the first thing that pops up is a bunch of tennis tips from loads of different coaches. And I kind of thought to myself, these guys are pumping out tennis tips like there's no tomorrow. They've got hundreds of tips on their profile. So I'm going to do a little follow-up video to the one that I did about a year ago, where I messaged the top 100 ATP and WTA pros for their best tennis tip. But this time, I'll be messaging viral tennis coaches. Okay, so it has actually been a little while since the last part of my video. After I filmed that bit, I actually felt a bit sick and then ended up being ill for the rest of the week. And then I went off to Rome, so I didn't actually do any training, and I didn't message any of the coaches. So we're going to do it again now. I'm going to use Instagram for a little bit of help. All right, Instagram, I need your help. I'm planning on doing a little follow-up video to the one I did about a year ago. All right, I got my first reply from the coaches. You see my Instagram yesterday?
No.
I'm messaging coaches for their best tip.
I did.
So we've got the coaching vault.
Tennis is about advancing forward. The player that advances forward without running into the ball and executing properly wins. The byproduct of not advancing forward successfully, or your opponent playing more aggressive than you, is you moving side to side. But tennis is not about moving side to side. Remember that.
He says, I agree. Because, what's that? Nadal said,
Yeah.
when Nadal's got the highest win percentage at the net, or something like 75%. I just see a load of people that easiest place to win a point is at the net.
Yeah. No, I 100%
The highest
agree.
win percentage is at the net. Nadal's like 90, but that's because he doesn't come in very often.
Yeah.
But even Federer's like 60 something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just like having the idea of trying to move forward.
on every ball.
Going through the ball, moving forward, and try and construct the points to move to the net. Even if you don't get to the net, then that's the way forward. So, excellent tip, I think. What do you think?
I agree.
All right, so Chanula actually broke his ankle, and he's on his way back to recovery. So couldn't train like normal, but what we did was got him in one corner. He moved me around the court, and anytime I got the opportunity to move forward, I kind of worked my way to the net, trying to find different ways, do some higher balls, push him deep, and just try and push him around a little bit as much as I could without him hurting himself, and just capitalise any opportunity to move forward. I played some points with Harry in the morning, and it was actually very fitting. I showed him the video that the coaching vault sent, and he was actually the one that requested it, so perfect timing. And yeah, just staying focused, played some match play with the focus of just trying to get forward and go through the ball, work on the different ways to construct points to get me moving up the court more and keep him at the baseline. And then there were a few times where the rallies were quite short, and just getting a little bit more heavier shot through the court allowed me to control the point a little bit more than the last few sets that we played. Probably put some highlights on here now and then catch up tomorrow and see if we get any more replies. I am back, it's another day, and I am in absolute dire need for a haircut, so I'll be getting that done very soon. But more importantly, I've been in contact with a lot of coaches last night. I gave them a little bit more details on what I was looking for, and they all said they'll get back in a couple of days' time, which is pretty convenient because I'm going away for a couple of days. So I'll be putting down the camera and picking it back up again, ready to go through some tips, hopefully. I know it's pretty much pitch black in here, but this is like the only time I have to record this intro for today. But yeah, I got my first features for a while in a couple of weeks, so I'm going to work hard for it. Got a little bit of change in my fitness plan.
Hey.
All right. Since I've come back from Spain, which has been a while ago now, I had been feeling that I've been lacking a little bit on the endurance side of things. Those guys are playing hours a day, and even though I'm doing lots of coaching, it's not the same as doing long sessions for like 4 hours a day plus an S&C. So Matt, my S&C, has devised a little plan to try and attack this gap that I need to go for.
Yeah, so we had, as Cam said, we had a little chat after Spain. And the word fatigue just like crept in a little bit every now and then when he was describing things, and yeah, he's right. I'm probably not playing enough minutes, and therefore probably not exposed to enough high intensity minutes. I think that's the big thing that people struggle to achieve during their week training, especially if it's squad based. So yeah, we're basically going to kind of condense everything. We're going to try and get our strength, our load. We're going to try and get our power. We're going to try and get our elements of speed, like linear mechanics, acceleration, through French contrast. We're going to bundle it up 2 to 3 times a week, and then on the days when we're not doing that, yeah, we're going to blast some shuttles. We're going to try and expose Cam to zone 4, zone 5, those higher heart rate zones, and try and prepare him to deal with those kind of high power periods, essentially, and yeah, get used to working at those intensities.
All right, perfect. And if you want to know more about French contrast, then check out the ChatGPT video where Matt went head to head with ChatGPT to talk about French contrast. So
Still think I took it.
got my new Dunlop gear out. Already got a stain on the shorts that hasn't come out of the washing. I've been focusing today on my serve a little bit. It's forever the serve progress. Trying to get that action with the arm coming this way rather than across this way. And I think that's going to help me have a little bit of a straighter ball toss, get it consistently to the right, because so many times I'm throwing the ball to the left. And I know it's probably because I'm coming around here like this and it feels good for the second serve, and that's probably why I haven't changed it in the past. But I do feel like when I get it right on the second serve, I'm able to like come under it a little bit more with a little bit more behind it, whereas when I'm coming the other way, it's just kind of sitting there. So I'm going to carry on working on it and see how it goes, and then head into the gym for that session. But of course, this is the messaging the coaches video, so I'm going to check my DMs and see if I've got any replies. Reply that we do have that is actually in the inbox with the tip is from Only Forehands. These guys have been growing on social media. Interruption here, going to chuck the ball back. They're growing rapid on Instagram, fastest growing Instagram tennis channel that I've seen for a while. So they say, I would say the best tennis advice that I've ever received, which there is a lot of, would be more of a mental cue than anything. It's quite cliche, but to stay present during the match. The match is made up of tiny little moments, and most players spend too much time in thinking about the future. I can't seem to read. In future thinking about what could or may happen, while others spend time focused on the past. Mad about a previous point or what they could have done better, which will no longer have an impact on the match. Staying present means playing each and every point like it's the only or last point that you're going to play, and once it's done, it's gone. You move on to the next moment. This way, the score or the pressure will have less effects on how you compete and strategize, or even perform the skills required that day. So I think that's an absolutely incredible tip, and kind of encompasses the inner game of tennis book that I talk about so much within a sort of single paragraph, and it's just so true. And as much as I probably know a lot of that myself, it's something that I need to focus on better within training as well, and it's something that you can do at any level and that you can progress at any stage of your tennis. It's an unbelievable tip. I've got some match play tomorrow, so I'm going to really focus on trying to stay in the present, bring myself back to the present moment, and really try and let stuff from the past or external stuff that are happening around me go. So yeah, let's focus on that tomorrow, but for now, it's time to hit the gym. Matt told me to get here early and get on the treadmill and start moving before the session. There's no way he's going to believe that I've actually done this, so let's get his reaction when he comes in.
I had a lot of money on you not being here.
I literally just said that to the camera.
What are you saying? So yeah, we're just testing it out today. We did a couple of days worth of shuttles last week. But as we said previously, we're looking to just try and expose Cam to some high intensity minutes. So we're going old school today.
The whole section with you in the video, and I forgot to ask you for your number one tip.
Get strong.
Get strong.
Yeah.
Fresh Dunlop balls here. Always good for match play. Using new balls make it feel like a tournament. I haven't filmed that many matches over the last, or even that much training, to be honest, over the last few weeks. Obviously I've been sick for a bit, as I said, but even this last week I've just been hitting on loads of squads, which is quite tough to film on, and just trying to film my game a little bit. But I played this morning, really trying to stay in the present, and felt like I was doing it quite well. So I'm going to go into this match play here, and just that's going to be my only focus. Just, can I be in the present as much as possible? And there's a quote from Djokovic where he talks about how he it's not how often you can be in the present, but how much can you bring yourself back to the present, because everyone gets frustrated. So I'm just going to try and, as soon as I start losing focus a little bit, just bring myself back to the present, and then just feel my game from there. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so without giving away the score of the set, because I'm probably going to overlay this whilst we watch the matches, what do you think about it? How are you playing? Stuff like that?
I wasn't playing too good, I felt.
Yeah.
A lot of errors.
Yeah.
In fairness to you, you're hitting the ball a lot bigger than when we've last played. You're putting a lot more pressure on me. You're not letting me play in the hard. I was controlling everything. Even if you thought you hit a good shot, it wasn't enough to put me under pressure. But there, it feels like you're striking the ball a lot harder.
Yeah.
You're hitting the ball a lot bigger as well.
So interestingly, I'm not actually focusing on that.
Yeah.
I was purely just focusing on just trying to let the previous point go, focus on the next one. And like, I kind of notice that when I play matches and I'm losing, and I'm like close to losing the match, like 5-2 down in the second set, I relax and I play a lot more. So sometimes what I was trying to do there was just like, I just let go of the previous point, and I kind of like imagined that I was 5-2 down in the second set. It was like, no, you're about to win. I might as well just be loose and go through it. All right, I bet you didn't expect to see this next in the video. I am here at Queen's Club. Thank you, Dunlop, for the tickets. One of the finest grass courts there are. Unbelievable. I have actually just got a message from Top Tennis Training with their tips, so I'm going to go through that when I get back. But for now, we're going to enjoy the tennis. I have been saving this video from Simon because I wanted to watch it when I actually had a good time to go through it, and I was actually doing a training day. So back from Queen's, and let's go through it. Let me get it up on here.
So firstly, I want to say thank you to Cam for including me in this video. Now, when you asked for one tip, it really got me thinking, got me analyzing what one tip could help every tennis player in the world, regardless of their level, regardless of their technique. Because let's face it, everyone's game is different. Some players will play two-handed, some players will play one-handed. Some players will play with more spin, others will play flatter. Everyone's game is different, but if there was one tip that I could give to every player in the world, what would it be? So I narrowed it down to 2 tips, and I asked Cam if I could have a couple of tips included in this video. So tip number 1, which should help every single tennis player around the world, is creating time on the ball. It all starts from picking up where the ball is going. This means that you're tracking the ball coming off your opponent's strings. So just after the point of contact on your opponent's side, the ball is traveling towards you. Within that first 5 or 6 feet of the ball traveling to your side, you should already pick up, is it coming to your forehand or is it coming to your backhand? Now, you won't always be able to read the length of the shot. You won't always be able to read the spin, the power, and so on. But what we can pick up really early is which side is that ball coming to. I'm also preparing myself to have the early preparation on either side.
Firstly, can I just say how good this video is? Thank you, Simon, for putting so much effort into this video. But I'm just going to pause it there because that tip is so good. I think having that early preparation and that recognition where the ball's coming, that is something that you can do regardless of your level. Even with me right now, I mean, I'm trying to play some futures, and it's still something that I think I can do way better, and it's going to help me a lot. But it's also the same advice that I give to a beginner potentially when they're doing my first few lessons with them, because it's just so important to read the ball and get that perception right. So let's carry on this video. And you can even see there when Simon's demonstrating it, it just looks so much more professional, it looks so much cleaner. And I think I'm actually somewhere between the two, the beginner one that he's shown here and the pro player. I think I'm sometimes doing it after it crosses the net, so that's something that I'm definitely going to be using for myself as well.
Now, if I watch the ball coming off my opponent's strings and I'm quite lethargic in those first few steps, I'm always going to be late on that ball. And let's face it, being late on the ball sucks because now you have less options, you can't set up properly, you can't have a full swing, and everything feels rushed. So which player would you rather be? The player that arrives at the ball early, has plenty of options, or the player that's panicking and rushing at the very last second to get it in the right position just to make the ball? So by tracking the ball off the opponent's strings, it will allow you that luxury of having that early preparation. So I'm waiting for the ball to come off the opponent's strings, forehand. And as soon as I recognize it's coming to my forehand, I'm starting that preparation. So I get that upper body coil, and this allows me then to have the time for that full swing.
And I'm just going to pause it there again, because I also think what's really good about this is that often when you see a player and you see them being late on the ball and you see them preparing late with their contact and in wrong positions, you automatically assume like they need to get better with their footwork. But a lot of the time, if you get the perception better, like Simon's saying here, then the footwork will come with it because you're prepared, you're ready, and you're moving in position. So sometimes just trying to be like, okay, more footwork drills. It's not actually going to resolve the issue. It's always trying to find the cause and not the effects of that cause, if that makes sense.
Now, if it comes to the backhand, the same is true, regardless if I'm a two-hander or a one-hander. I'm in that ready position, it comes to the backhand. I get that shoulder turn, and then I have time for that full swing. By being quick at recognizing which side the ball's coming to and that early preparation, you're going to create a lot of time for yourself, and you're going to feel much less rushed when you're hitting your shots. And tip number 2 is how to stay relaxed through the point of contact. A lot of players struggle with this. You can see the tension on their face when they're making contact. Their cheeks are puffed up. They look like they're hitting not a tennis ball, but a cement block. And this really comes down to holding our breath. So the opposite of holding the breath is then exhaling prior to and during the contact point. Now, why would I do it before I actually make contact? Now, if you think about it, if I'm holding my breath until the point of contact and I'm grunting after contact, what's happening is better than holding my breath completely, but at the point of contact, when I want to be my most relaxed, I'm tense because I'm holding my breath.
You know what, this is super interesting because I automatically give myself the cue of breathe out on the contact, and I think that's just what everyone says. So what he's saying here just makes so much sense. Is like you do want to be relaxed on the contact, so when you breathe out, if you're doing that, you're actually going to be tense on the contact. So I think that's a, I don't know, I guess we could call it a tennis misnomer that's been spread around, is breathe out on the contact, but breathing out just before the contact. And I guess when you do the grunting, you would breathe out just before that contact to make sure that you're relaxed through that contact. So this is super interesting. Let's watch more.
So I'm making contact, I'm holding my breath, the ball's then left the strings, I can no longer do anything with that ball, and now I exhale. So I'm still getting that relaxation, but it's happening after contact. Whereas if I start my exhale prior to contact, so around the point where the ball's just rising up to my racket, I start that long exhale. At the point of contact, I'm relaxed. Now think about it. If you're holding your breath, you get more and more tense, your blood pressure rises, you get less oxygen in your body, and then of course you have less oxygen going to your brain, so you start making poor decisions. But if I'm constantly inhaling and exhaling through each contact point, I never reach that position where I'm feeling like I'm gasping for air. And if you're exhaling properly all the way through your strike zone, you won't need to worry about the inhale. Trust me, it will come very naturally. Now, of course, it's impossible to do this during a match. This has to happen in training. You have to master this during the long hours that you do on the practice court. There is one more thing to keep in mind. Some pros will use a one cycle. So exhale, the player is hitting their shot, I'm inhaling, and then the ball comes back to me and I've exhaled prior to contact. So that's one cycle between each hit. Other players will use two cycles. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale again. So play around with both and see which one suits your game more. So those are my 2 tips: creating more time on the ball, and then of course being relaxed by exhaling prior to contact and allowing your body to feel that relaxation as you make contact. Cam, keep up the great work. I really enjoy your content, and hopefully we'll film something together sometime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that 100%. So I'll get in touch with Simon. Let's try and film something together again. But those tips, unbelievable. Editing also unbelievable. I'm going to get on court pretty much after I pack up here, and I'm going to go try that out. Let's have a talk about how that went. I've just finished an afternoon session filled with loads of points, managed to record a little bit. And whilst we're warming up, I tried to do the breathing, trying to breathe out just before the contact, and I thought that was going really well actually. And I was able to get into like a really good timing and rhythm, and it was almost helping me stay a little bit more present, I was going to say, but I think what I really want to say is more within that flow state, and it's having that focus on a specific thing that isn't actually hitting the ball that actually helps you play a little bit better. So I felt like my tempo with my practice partner was a lot higher than usual, being more consistent, and it really felt like we were kind of like in like a pro sort of practice with that pro sort of rhythm. And I definitely found that I was a 1 cycle type of person. Definitely didn't have time to go for the 2 cycles, so I wonder if that's sort of dependent on level and pace of ball that you're receiving. I said earlier in the video that I'm preparing to go away to play futures, but I've just had a look at the entry list and I'm about 30 alternate at the moment, with the freeze deadline pretty soon in a couple of days. So it's a risk worth taking, but I don't know, the flights are so expensive for this one. Normally they're like under 200, but they're pushing 300, 350, 400. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I might back out of this one. There's one in Austria in a couple of weeks' time that I want to do as well. So yeah, at this present stage, I'm going to keep training as if I am going to go, but I'm not really sure yet. I'm about to jump on the call now with Phil. A couple of weeks, God, time just flies. A couple of months ago now, I did a video where I tested out 5 attendance coaches and got on really well with Phil, and we kept in touch. So we're going to go through my latest match that I played in Spain at Futures. So we're not just going to get one tip from Phil, he also has an Instagram page himself, which I'll put in the description, but we'll get multiple, and I know these relate to my own game, but I think a lot of it can be applied to many people. Well, at least I assume it will be. So let's jump into that now. And then this afternoon I got a message from Dylan earlier, and I've downloaded his videos, so I'm going to be going through that on call with Chanula. So yeah, I'll check in later.
Hey, how are you?
Good, and you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Which match are we watching?
The latest one from I think it was Spain.
The win being sideways, you're right, consistency is going to be king on that, but you can still use it to your advantage. So from the end where you're standing right now, you've got to be careful on the cross-court forehands, because the wind is obviously going to push that even more towards the right on the side where he's at right now. But down the line, you can go for it, knowing that the wind will probably help you to not push it out wide. Whenever you come over to the side where the GoPro, then the reverse becomes applicable.
I think overall, like throughout the whole match, I was a little bit too passive. Like in the first set, like I made a lot of he made a lot of errors, and I was just being consistent. And then as I went along, he was dominating more points. So I don't think this was like a sustainable way to win matches, if you know what I mean. Like he's a lot closer to the baseline than I am. I'm just getting the ball back in play. We're both pretty exhausted. Like I maybe could have won the first set if like a few things went my way, but I feel like he made errors in the first set. I'm running around putting it in the court. The rallies along, I'm tiring him out. But then when he started finding his game as it went along, then I wasn't playing a way that caused damage.
Coming into the net was not part of what you were aiming for. It was kind of going to be incidental. If there was a short ball, whatever, you might go in.
I did say to myself, if the ball was around the service line trying to approach the net before the match, and it just didn't happen when I started playing.
Well, listen, it's not so much about where the ball lands that determines whether you should be coming in or not. It's more where your feet are when you make contact with the ball. Where the ball lands is not ideal way of thinking of an approach shot. So, for example, the ball on a serve will always land somewhere around the service line, but you're not going to come in on that because of the speed of the ball. If your feet are inside the baseline, anytime your feet are inside the baseline, you have a possibility to go into the net, rather than looking at where the ball lands. There, you should have come in.
Okay.
If you were already using that slice backhand and you're already halfway inside the court, it was a wasted opportunity to come in.
Yeah.
Again, just to give him a different look. Taking the ball much earlier on the return would have been difficult.
No, I could do that, and I'm actually reasonably good at that. But I think for my returns, I don't know what you think about this, but I think it would be good to have a bit more variation. sometimes, especially in the second serve, like sometimes take it nice and early, sometimes return approach, and then sometimes quite far back and do like an hour, like a loopy one. I think I just stand reasonably close to the baseline, take it averagely early, and then do that on every return. I think if I could vary it a little bit, that would be a little bit better. But then the question comes in: when is the right time to step in and come to net? When's the right time to go back? Because in my head, I'll just be doing it at like random stages. Like, I don't know if it's like a specific scoreline situation where I'm like, okay, now I return an approach, or now I take it early. Okay, now I would stand back a little bit, or if it's just like a feeling type of thing during the match.
I think any time where it's a pressure point for the opponent, who's serving, you should be standing and hugging the baseline, or even standing inside the baseline, trying to see whether you can draw a double fault from the opponent. Standing in a really weird return position, see how he deals with that. Any 15 alls, any 30 alls, any break points definitely is a good time to just see if you can visually disturb your opponent.
So then if I were to play this match again, how would you think I should do things differently to try and get the win? Because I remember you saying that you didn't think it was too far off me. So if I could do different things, what do you think could have given me a better chance of getting the win for this one?
I think if you could have just planted a little bit more doubt in him, let him make some more errors, that would have helped a lot more. I think at the same time, playing with a little bit more arc would have, because you see he's really standing inside the baseline. Well, not inside the baseline, but he's way too close to the baseline, which is showing that the depth of your balls is not causing him too much issue. What's the simplest way of getting the balls to go deep? Well, the more difficult way is to hit it harder, because harder means more error. You've got to keep the balls lower over the net, which means, there's a risk of more errors. The easiest way is creating more arc. You said yourself, you find it more difficult when the ball is being played to you with more arc, because it bounces higher. You're having to move further back, or you're having to take a lot more balls from way up above your shoulder. Do the same to him. That would have taken care of the depth, and that would have taken care of forcing him to move back or hit shoulder height balls. I'm always all about trying to mix things up. I'm always trying to make the opponent think more than he has to. I'm always trying to think, how am I going to prevent my opponent from getting into any kind of rhythm?
All right, back with Chanula. Here he is. I just need to change my shoes, but Chanula's been on a pretty big trip. But did you tell him you play tennis?
Everybody already knew that.
So he knew that?
He knew I play tennis. But
You've got to get on court with him, and that could be your channel opener. Time for another goat of tennis. Well, the goat of the coaching world.
You're still recording?
Yeah. Dylan, let's have a look at what his tip is, and I think he's given us an exercise as well.
Hey Cam, hope you're well. My tennis tip for you is going to be focusing on the placement over your power. And this is one of my favorite games in improving your consistency and your tactical intentions on the court. So you're not allowed to hit a winner. You can slice, you can lob, you can attack the ball, but your goal is not to hit a clean outright winner. You're trying to beat each other with the variety, the feel and spins that you can apply to the different types of shots. Personally, what I find when players are doing this exercise is rallies can go on and on. Slice battles, high loopy shots as well. The shots can go on and on, but this is a great way to challenge the mind and also focus on what you're trying to do tactically. I also like to play this game at a tie-break format. It could be the second serve only, and then you're playing it out first to 7. Hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you in action.
Perfect. I think that's a really cool exercise. Really good way, as he said, to focus on spin, precision, just trying out different things, angles as well, when you're not just trying to step in and go for the winners a lot. So I think it's a good way to do before points and then go into actual points as well. All right, I'm mic'd up for this one. Going to get straight into it. But before I start, I just want to say a massive thank you to Dylan again, because I know how busy all these coaches are. So for them to come back to me and help me out for this video is amazing. So thank you so much. And we're going to get into this awesome exercise. So let's do it. Just trying to experiment a little bit more. Use the slice a little bit more in this drill because we've got a little bit more time than usual. So it's just using that slice, maybe a few more high balls, a few angles, just to see what we can do. How'd you find that, Chanula? I think that is your favourite exercise.
That is my favourite.
It's more tiring than usual points as well. Maybe went a little bit overboard with the slice sometimes, but I think that's the point of the drill. Experiment with more stuff to get a little bit more time. But definitely felt like I was using a bit more angles than usual. So. Cool, thank you.
I always have to do something, hold something, I don't know.
All right, back with Harry again. We featured a lot in this video so far. We have a message from Ashley, the tennis mentor, pretty big message coming through. So let's take a look at what his tip is.
Hey Cam, so if I were to give you one piece of advice for your tennis, it would be to prioritize the biggest components of your game, the parts of your game that are going to make the biggest difference to your results, which for me are your serve and return, the physical side of your game, so the way that you move around the court when it comes to speed and balance, and finally your tactical intentions, as most players go wrong through poor shot selection. All the best.
Awesome. To summarise that, serve return, footwork and tactical intention. So should we try and come up with a little exercise or a few exercises that encompass those few different things? We could obviously do some serve and ball 3 stuff. I think we can plan a whole session around that actually. Serve and ball 3. With the footwork side of things, is there any sort of specific like footwork stuff? I mean, for me, I want to try and take the ball early a little bit.
Yeah,
so forward and backward movement.
You can force yourself, like one person stays inside the baseline.
Yep.
Footwork, I mean, if you're trying to half volley everything, your footwork's got to be impeccable, doesn't it?
Okay, cool. So we can add that into sort of like warm up part.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's do that first, and then we'll go serve and ball 3. And then with the tactical side of things, shot selection, how should we incorporate that? I think definitely some sort of points-based exercise.
Point space for sure.
Try and focus on moving forward, so we could do, if you hit a clean winning volley, you win the game.
Yeah.
So match play, like normal games, but with that, and then it's trying to choose the right time to sort of move forward and make the right decisions to work your way to the net. Okay, so first couple rallies from the back here. Just the main focus is just trying to get a good contact, get a feel for the ball. And then after I've got my timing a little bit, I'm going to do an exercise that I like to call up, back and stay. And that's basically where you're trying to call the ball as early as you can. So off of Harry's racket, preferably by the time it crosses the net, if not earlier. And see if I need to move forward to it, stay where I am, or back to it. And that should help me get my footwork a little bit better. So let's do this now. Stay. Up. Back. Up. Stay. Probably could have been up there. Back. Up. Probably a stay. So this is really, it tests your perception of the ball really well, and it teaches you right from the start to read the ball and get your footwork going. Okay, so here now that I'm inside the baseline a little bit, it's just trying to use my hands, small swing, and get used to taking the ball a little bit earlier. Nice, that was good. Like those balls like that, it's tough, but it's good to work on hand skills. Obviously you don't want to play like this, you want to do the up, back and stay like I said before, but it's really good for working on hand skills. Also working on redirection of the ball. Maybe after you finish the first serve, ball comes hard middle. Can you get your timing on it, stay low, and just redirect the ball a little bit. Let's do a few more. Good. That's the one. You just got to stay super low with this one. And just keep your eye on it. Try and get a good contact. And really work on spacing and timing. We've done a bit of cross courts and warmed up our volleys, so we're going to go straight into serve and ball 3 now. I'm going to focus on one pattern just to try and really get that good rather than doing like 1 minute on everything. So I'm going to go serve wide, mix it up with a kick or a flat, and then try and either go back behind or space, depending on where Harry hits it. It's a classic one of when you're playing, it's trying not to overanalyze, but see what I'm doing. This is where I can practice the just images. So there, just get up the court, stay lower. Oh, great shot. Oh, string gone. No. Just gonna get into these points now. Could go pretty quickly if we hit a lot of clean winning volleys. I'm going to try and use serve and volley quite a lot. Really work on that today at the right times. Maybe off that kick wide. Try and get to net and choose those right opportunities. All right, let's have a chat about tournaments. So I decided not to go to France just because the flights are too expensive. And it ended up being like 10th alternate. So I think I probably would have got in But then it was alright because I was speaking to Phil, and there was a tournament in Austria the week after, so next week, from when I'm recording this. And we're going to do some cool trip. We're going to do some training for a couple of days, and then I was going to go and sign in, and he was going to try and come and watch my qualifying match. Super generous of him. So I got really excited for that, and this was going to be the next video after I release this one. But yesterday morning I was doing some warm-up exercises, and I actually fell over on the court, and I thought it was alright, but as I carried on, started to get really bad pain in my rib, like, I don't know if you could see, like in here, like felt really hard on here and on my left wrist, and as the day went along it was super painful. Like every time I breathe in now, like I get really sharp pain in here, and like I can't hold anything in my left hand, so I literally can't play. Like anytime I try and engage my core, it just gets super bad pain, and I don't know, I don't think it's lovely wind here. Look how bad these trees are moving. Anyway, yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to do a trip anymore, and I don't know, I'm absolutely gutted. It's just kind of just like, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. Like I probably should have paid a bit more money to go to France. I would have got in a little bit more, then I would have had more matches, which have made my confidence rating for the WCN go up a little bit more. I don't know, at the time that it felt like the right decision, and the trip was so cool. It would have made out to be an awesome video, and I've had a great time, but yeah, it's just the way it is. I don't know how long this recovery is going to be now. I don't know, ribs can take a long time, I looked up. So yeah, we just got to see. I want to play tournaments. I know that you guys have reached out to me, and you want to see me play some tournaments as well. But yeah, I'm just going to bring this back to when I started the series, and I'm in this for the long haul. So yeah, maybe this year, not the most tournaments, but there'll be years to come where I'm playing loads and loads of tournaments, and yeah, things will fall into place in the future, but things don't always go your way. So, but we've got to look for the positives and keep moving forward one step at a time. So it has been a couple days, and my left wrist is feeling a lot better. I'm going to try hitting some balls with it tomorrow, but ribs are still really painful every time I breathe in, and basically any time I engage my core still. So yeah, a bit worried it's going to be more than a few days for that one. But on a more positive note, I have got a message from Intuitive Tennis, Nikola, and he has sent me his tip, and we're going to watch it here together, live. Well, not live, but watching it for the first time here. So let's get up the file, and here for the final tip of the video. Let's go.
Cam, you asked me to record a video for you to give a tip that's going to apply to a lot of people, and I thought long and hard, and I came to the conclusion that across all levels of the game, the word neglect is a very important word to consider in the game of tennis, because often players, independent of level, neglect certain shots in practice, or they neglect playing certain type of opponents. They maybe neglect playing under certain type of conditions on certain type of surfaces, and now when they encounter things that they're not accustomed to in a match situation, they struggle. So let me just give you one example of many. A lot of people hate playing moonballers and pushers. They just don't like playing against that type of opponent in practice. And then they get to their team match or their tournament match, and they face a pusher and a moonballer, and they struggle tremendously. But I can tell you that if you avoid neglecting playing different types of players, you're not going to be as bothered by playing different type of players in match settings. Now, another example where neglect can cause issues when you step on that match court is neglecting certain shots. Let's talk about why you might struggle against moonballers, for example. So a lot of people avoid playing high balls in practice, and then they get on the match court, they get high balls, and they struggle, of course. And the frustrating thing is that they might be playing really well, have a lot of confidence. They're playing balls that are in their strike zone, and all of a sudden they play somebody that gives them a heavy spin that goes higher, and they lose all their confidence and they play awful.
You know what? That's an awesome tip, and quite an individual one. I love the way that you focus there on the word sort of neglect as like as a theme, and not necessarily just like one individual thing. And I think that's so true, especially from my sense as well, is that if you neglect certain things, you're not going to get the improvement. I think a lot of us go into practice and we neglect the areas that we should really be working on, not in the sense of like a weakness, like we all go in, we work on our backhand as weakness, but like for me, for example, when I go play futures, I'm playing people with like massive serves and the rallies are short, and I always don't really like playing against these type of players when I'm training. I prefer having players where I can have like long rallies, a bit more my height as well. So I think that's something I definitely need to do a lot more going into training, is trying to arrange more hits with people who basically have massive servers and giving no rhythm, because I dislike that. I think to have the best improvement, you need to have a well-rounded approach. So you need to be having players who you're better than, players who are worse than you on paper, and then players around the same level. If you get all those three things, you can get the best improvement. So awesome tip there. I love the example of the moonballer and the high balls. So yeah, that was really awesome. And that does sum up our video here, but as you might have seen in the thumbnail, there was one more coach that I did try and contact, and of course it was the legendary Patrick Mortoglu, but I did not get a response. However, I am hoping maybe I could try and get his attention. You know, I'm with Dunlop, he's with Dunlop, maybe there's something that I can do to try and get his attention and get his #1 tennis tip. So if he does respond, that will be a separate video in itself, but for this one I want to say a massive thank you to all the coaches that got involved. I feel really lucky, and it's very generous of them to all be happy to get involved in this video and spend time out of their busy schedules to send me their tips. So thank you so much to all the coaches that got involved. All the tips were fantastic, and yeah, that sums up this video. I will see you in the next one.